Saludos a toda la afición de Lucha Libre Online. Este que les habla es Michael Morales Torres, integrante del equipo de Lucha Libre Online. Y tenemos el enorme privilegio de presentarles a nuestro invitado especial en la tarde de hoy, anteriormente conocido como Curt Stallion en la WWE, actualmente Stallion Rogers de Texas para el mundo, pero en directo desde Florida. Llega aquí a Lucha Libre Online. Stallion Rogers, man, it is a privilege for us to have you as our guest. How are things going your way? How are you doing today?
I have zero complaints, and honestly, it's an honor for me to be on y'all's show. Y'all are the first interview that I've accepted post WWE, so it's pretty cool to be here.
It is our honor to have you as our guest, man. We've been following your career since you went in the independent scene, and it grew up so fast during the last year. But we will get there. Before we get there, I wanted to know your beginning inside this industry. I mean, you made your debut in 2013. You've been here for 8 years, but were you always a wrestling fan, or this is something that, you know, it hooked you up while growing up?
Honestly, where I'm from, small town, Crane, Texas, the population is like 90% Mexican. So like my whole life, I've just grown up around Lucha Libre and stuff. All my friends love AAA, CMLL, all that. That's all that was on the TV. So growing up, it was hard for me being a young little white kid to understand. I just wouldn't watch anything that wasn't in English. So as I got older, I remember seeing TNA with the ticker, and when it was on Fox Sports Net, and then they had like Obispo Negro and a bunch of like old classic luchadors that were coming in, and he really drew me in. It was a big thing there because I was a little pyromaniac as a kid, and I'd always get the WD-40 and the lighter. But that was what really started. I was like, man, I wasn't a WWE kid early on, and I didn't start watching wrestling like as a fan until maybe I was 11 years old. And at that time, you're already past the point where you're, oh, it's fake, it's not real. Like, I was captivated by the fact that some of these guys were making me check my disbelief. And I was like, there's no way this is like, you know, there's no way it's a show. They're actually going out there and getting it. And from there, it spiraled. It never sunk my love for the wrestling. It just grew, and it grew and grew from nothing to it being my life.
Wow, man.
I don't even know if I answered your question. I just started rambling.
Did. No, you did. Let me translate this briefly to Spanish. Curt Stallion, anteriormente en WWE, actualmente Stallion Rogers, nos menciona que él crece en un pequeño pueblo en Texas, Crane, en donde el 90% de la población eran mexicanos, mayormente eran latinos, sus amigos, todos les gustaba la lucha libre mexicana. Entonces creció viendo AAA, Consejo Mundial de Lucha, personas como Abismo Negro, por darles un ejemplo. Pero llega el momento dado en que, ok, yo nunca fui como con WWE desde el principio, por donde se crió, era todo el tiempo era la lucha libre. Como él dice, era un pequeño piromaníaco que andaba con un lighter y un WD-40, simplemente pegándole fuego a las cosas. Pero sí, él le gustaba la lucha, le gustaba esto, y su amor fue desde abajo, fue pequeñito hasta que empezó a crecer, y eventualmente lo captura y se convierte prácticamente en toda su vida. When do you decide that it was possible to do this? Like, well, one thing is to see it on TV, one thing is to see it with your friends, but another thing is actually realizing that this is a possible pathway in your life.
I was the kid in high school that was just walking around super kicking everybody, trying to hit RKOs on everybody. Just didn't met teacher, student, girl, guy. I was just on wrestling all the time. And I moved off and went to college for a little bit in San Antonio. And my best friend Cristobal called me one day, and he was just like, dude, I found wrestling. I found Lucha Libre. Like, it's real. There's a ring. It's real. And I was like, our whole lives we've been looking for a place to train, a place to go. We did the trampoline stuff, the backyard stuff, but we never had anything real. And in Odessa, Texas, he found old school wrestling ran by Fred Urban III. And I quit school. I just dropped everything and went home and started training to be a professional wrestler. And from there, I started training October 2012 in Odessa, Texas, had my first match July 2013, and then I was there until January 2015.
Wow, man. Let me translate this briefly.
Cool.
Él menciona que él era este chamaquito que siempre estaba en la escuela, super kicking a todo el mundo, y la RKOs era el chamaco que siempre estaba jugando a lucha libre en la escuela. Él decía, bueno, yo en mis tiempos, cuando me iba creciendo, pues hacía las cosas en los trampolines, en los patios, los backyard, como él dice. Eso lo intenté, pero nunca tuvimos un entrenamiento propio hasta que llegó un amigo, Cristóbal, y le dice como que, loco, acabo de encontrar lucha libre, o sea, lo acabo de encontrar en San Antonio, hay un ring, está todo, mano, tenemos que hacerlo, y llega el momento en donde ingresa a esto por primera vez y lo practica prácticamente hasta el 2015, que es cuando lo perfecciona, pero lo encuentra después de tanto tiempo practicando backyard, ahora entonces tiene un proper training, como él dice. Once you get to that place, to that ring for the first time, you had the opportunity to kiss the canvas. That's either a painful or a glory experience. How was yours?
It was glorious, honestly. Like I felt like the most devout Christian walking into a church and God sitting there in the first pew. And I was just like, I couldn't, it was so surreal. That was my sanctuary. Like I walked in there and there's just not, it was an old rundown building, you know, nothing was pretty about it, but the wrestling ring was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my entire life. And honestly, like, I guess I got lucky. I didn't know at the time, but that ring that we had there is still to this day one of the best rings I've ever been in. Like sitting there in Odessa, I'm probably gonna buy it one of these. Just breaking back every time you pull up, but still looking real. And I know this is your job, and I just want to commend you and tell you how excellent you are at remembering every single thing that I say and translating it, like just boom, like you're awesome. But that's enough.
Thank you, man. Humbled for your words. Let me do this in Spanish as well. Él me menciona
No
que
problem.
él se sintió como el cristiano más devoto ingresando a su iglesia por primera vez, con Dios sentado en primera fila viéndolo. Fue una experiencia gloriosa besar el canvas de un cuadrilátero por primera vez. Y como él dice, fui tan afortunado que tuvo la oportunidad de experimentar uno de los mejores cuadriláteros, uno de los mejores rings que he podido experimentar en toda mi vida. El ring todavía sigue ahí y al día de hoy es uno de los mejores rings en donde me he subido hasta el día de hoy. Así que está excelente que tengas oportunidad. You completed your training, you graduated, now you are a full Jedi, you are the person that has the opportunity to make its debut. Like, this is huge for you. You were always dreaming from this moment. You were RKOing people in school, you were practicing in backyards. Now you're going to be a pro wrestler. What's the first thing that went through your mind going through that curtain? How do you feel at that moment knowing that you were going to achieve the dream? That's the dream. You were going to do it.
I'll never ever forget it. It was in Andrews, Texas. Matt Hardy was backstage, and I was just looking at him like this isn't my backyard. Those aren't my friends. Like that's Matt Hardy. Like, whoa, like it blew my mind. And then when my music hit, and sorry about my blinds being messed up, my cats are trying to see what's going on cats. Here. I'll just stand over here where the scenery is better. Anyhow, so I'll never forget, I grabbed a random manager and I said, please, will you come out with me? Like, I was so scared, and I was just like, oh, and I was just like, I don't, like, this is the best moment of my entire life, and I don't know how to handle it right now. I just need somebody to walk out with me. And he goes, he looked at the promoter, and the promoter was off just counting cash because it was a full crowd. He did great and didn't want to bother him. So he's just like, yeah, I'll go with you. And I'll never forget just walking through the curtain, and I was the little baby face, and I had a heel manager with me, and I just felt like a king because, yeah, but that was just a fun little fact about the beginning. Getting in the ring was also like, it was unbelievable. My family, my friends were there. There was a whole crowd of people I've never seen before in my entire life, but like, it was just like, this is real. And I got addicted to that feeling, and I guess that's what I chase every weekend, is just getting in there knowing that I'm about to live my dream, but also make a bunch of people check their disbelief, like guys like Hardcore Holly and Eddie Guerrero used to do for me. Like, so it's just that's humbling. Like, I'm just living the dream, man.
So this is basically the eternal chase of the dragon. Let me translate this to Spanish. Él menciona que en su primera lucha, él tiene la oportunidad de salir por esa cortina y busca un manejador random. Él era un babyface, busca un manejador heel. Fue como que, tú puedes venir conmigo, vente por acá. Ese era su manejador y es como que sale por la cortina y va por ahí creyéndose la superestrella. O sea, tenía la oportunidad de conquistar este sueño. Esa es la parte más interesante de esto. Y este muchacho se vuelve adicto, como él dice, a buscar esa sensación que sintió el primer día, a esa mariposa en el estómago, a esa adrenalina, a esa emoción constante que tenía, y principalmente al hecho de que ama tanto esto que todavía lo que él quiere es eso, salir allá afuera, sentirse bien consigo mismo, enganchar a las personas y enamorarlos como lo hicieron Eddie Guerrero y Hardcore Holly con él en su momento dado, simplemente capturar público para ir poco a poco. You had a pretty incredible career, man, in the independent circuit prior to arriving to what people consider, quote unquote, the big leagues. But as part of that career, you had the opportunity to visit Eddie Guerrero's homeland, Mexico, with the Crash, Auditorio Fausto Mata, Tijuana, one of the either the roughest place of Mexico or the best place of Mexico, depending if you are a babyface or a heel. So how did you got to Mexico for the first time? Let's start that way.
Well, that wasn't even the first time. The first time was down in Matamoros.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I knew you would make a face. Yeah, Tamaulipas. That was spooky. Not gonna lie, but honestly, they took care of me. Did great time. Came back. But yeah, so fun fact about the Crash thing. Now that we're on air and live, I can just break it to you. It never got to happen.
Oh.
Yeah. Your face, that's funny.
What the hell? Like, you were advertising many posters and everything, but you got to wrestle in Mexico.
Yes. So the Crash thing that day didn't happen. Ray Phoenix set it up for me. That's one of my best friends in all of pro wrestling. I'll put him over until the day I die, as a person, as a family man, and as a professional wrestler. Ray Phoenix, the Don. Anyhow, he got it all set up, connected, everything booked, advertised, and then I had ROH in San Antonio the day before, and I remember I got to the show and I was wrestling Silas Young for the television title, and I was just like, I'm going to the Crash tomorrow. I'm so stoked, blah, 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 can't wait. They never bought my flight. And I messaged Phoenix and I was like, hey, bro, like, I don't have a flight. Like, I feel real bad. I'm not going to be able to make this booking. It's the first booking I've ever missed in my entire career. And he lost his mind. He got real mad because it wasn't his fault, but he's the one that set it up. So yeah, there's that story. I figured I'd wait till we were on air to share that. And it's not a dig on anybody, and I'd still fucking love to work there. But like, yeah.
They didn't got you a ticket. How the hell you were going to Mexico?
Yeah, exactly. And whenever Phoenix looked at the flights, they ended up being over $1,000. And he's like, bro, we can't, like, there's no way logically. And I was like, dude, no worries. Like, whatever. I'm not upset about it. I understand this kind of stuff happens. So yeah, but that's the Crash story.
What about Matamoros? So you got to literally the roughest place of Mexico. It's either that and Sinaloa. So you debuted it on the roughest scenario possible. So how did that happen?
Well, all my friends in where I'm from are from border towns, and I've heard stories and I've been around people, and so I wasn't worried at all. Like, I know a guy like me walking into a place like that can't always go well, but I told myself professional wrestling is different. I'm there it's my job. I'm not there for anything else, yada, yada. And I guess going in with that attitude was good because I saw people get bullied and messed with, and like taken advantage of, but I wasn't one of those people. And people were very kind, and like people I was intimidated by were very kind and respectful to me. So I don't know what it was about it, but the way that got set up was I was living in St. Louis at the time, and I was doing all the ROH stuff. And I got a call from a local Texas guy that doesn't wrestle anymore. And he was like, "Hey, man, we're going to Mexico this weekend." He didn't specify, he just said, "We're going to Mexico to wrestle." And I was just like, "Absolutely, I'll be there." I drove 16 hours south,
Jesus.
got there. Yeah. And then he was just like, he said, "Meet me in Corpus Christi." I said, "Okay." Met him there. And then he's like, "All right, this is where we're going." And I was like, I've heard about this place. And we went there, and it was just one of those, it was a small little podunk show, you know, like just very enclosed, not very many people there, but the people that were there were super into it and like very like throwing pesos at you and batteries and rocks. But I loved it. But yeah, that it could have been much more of a nightmare story had I handled myself differently, I think. But that, I don't even remember the name of the promotion. I doubt it even still runs. It was just one of those, like, those places, you know what I mean? Just a local indie.
Perfect, man. Let me translate both stories to Spanish.
Yes.
Okay, su primera lucha en México ocurre en Matamoros. De todos los lugares en el mundo, en Matamoros, en Tamaulipas, que por lo general para un estadounidense, un extranjero, es difícil. Dice, mira, yo escuché historias de terror de Matamoros, porque mis amigos son de pueblos fronterizos o vivían en México. Recuerden, de donde él crece, el 90% de las personas son mexicanos. Y su promotor, su entrenador le dice, vamos a luchar en México esta semana que viene, ¿quieres venir? Claro que sí, vamos para allá. Y el muchacho guía a Corpus Christi, donde le piden 16 horas de camino por ahí para abajo. Llega a Corpus Christi y le dice, vamos para Matamoros. Y fue como que, oh, yo he escuchado de este lugar. Fue como que, downfall completamente. Pero vamos para allá. Él dice, es cuestión de cómo afrontar las cosas, de la actitud que tenga. Su actitud fue positiva todo el tiempo. Pudieron haber pasado mil cosas, pero es como que él dice, tuvo las dos experiencias. Le arrojaron pesos, o sea, dinero, lucha premiada, pero también le arrojaron con baterías. O sea, que tenía, o con pilas, tenía los dos lados de la historia. La parte de The Crash, él está anunciado por todos lados que él estuvo en The Crash, que él iba a The Crash, etcétera, etcétera, y lamentablemente nunca ocurrió. ¿Por qué no ocurre esto? Porque nunca le compraron el boleto de avión. They never booked his flight. Él luchaba con SILENCIO por el campeonato de la televisión ese fin de semana. Cuando va a ir bien contento al aeropuerto, no tengo vuelo. Llama a Fénix, mira, le agradece a Fénix. Dice que Fénix siempre, donde pueda ponerlo over, lo va a hacer porque siempre lo trató muy bien y siempre le brindó muchas oportunidades a Rey Fénix. Pero él llama a Fénix y le dice, mira, pana mío, no me compraron el vuelo. Te estoy buqueado, tengo hotel, no tengo vuelo. Fue como que Fénix se molesta, verifican alternativas, los vuelos estaban como por encima de los $1,000, over $1,000 los vuelos, y no había manera pues de poder concretarlo. Dice como que yo no estaba molesto ni nada, si todavía se ha dado la oportunidad de hacerlo, claro que lo hago. Pero en ese momento pues lamentablemente no se pudo, pero sí luchó en Matamoros de todos los lugares en el mundo, en un show independiente que es una empresa que no recuerdo el nombre, que posiblemente ya ni existe en este momento. You were on Ring of Honor, you wrestled in the US, you wrestled in Mexico, you did your thing, and you caught someone's eye, and that's WWE. Everyone can say X or Y from WWE, but as a kid, many people watch it, and that's, to many pro wrestlers, that's the dream, either for the economical reasons, for the exposure, for the mainstream media, or whatever you want to say. You got the opportunity to get there and you sign a contract with them. How did that opportunity happen? Was it Canyon Seaman? Who contacted you, and how did you got there in the first place? How do you feel at that moment, knowing that you were actually going to the big leagues, quote unquote?
It's funny because my career snowballed from, I always dreamed of WrestleMania. Like that was the end all be all. And when it started snowballing, it was with the ROH Top Prospect Tournament. I did that. And then I was in the very first class of the LA dojo for New Japan. And then from there, Evolve called me and they signed me, Gabe Sapolsky.
Okay.
And that was the cherry on top of the ice cream. Essentially, whenever that happened, it was a done deal. I've never contacted WWE. I'd never hit them up and been like, hey, I'm a pro wrestler and I'd like to work for you guys someday. I just told myself if they want me, they will come to me. And sure enough, Evolve got bought. They selected a certain few wrestlers out of the company, and I was one of them. And that's how I got picked.
Awesome. And you were one of the few selects at that point. But prior to that, I believe in 2020, you had a dark match for them against Legado del Fantasma. Am I mistaking the timelines, or that was after you actually signed with them?
That was after I signed with them.
Perfect, perfect. So you had the opportunity to make your debut in basically the main roster in 205 Live. Mm-hmm. This is not NXT. This is not dark matches. Your proper TV match was for Peacock, for WWE Network, for 205 Live. And as well, you had the opportunity to wrestle guys like Santos Escobar for the Cruiserweight champion. Like, for you, like as a human being, as a wrestler, as a professional, what was it like to cross this off your bucket list?
It was one thing wrestling on 205 Live in my debut. It was Anthony Green versus Arya Daivari, and then it was me versus Arya Daivari. And that was on 205 Live on Peacock. And then my first official match on the USA Network was a Cruiserweight Championship match against Santos Escobar. And all of that was just crazy to me, essentially, to sum it up in the simplest of ways. It was just crazy in the best of ways. Humbling as well. But yeah, I don't, there's no other way to sum it up than it was just crazy and humbling.
Let's talk about your relationship with Santos Escobar. Like, he's a legend basically on the Mexican soil in his age. Like, he's still in his prime. He's still doing everything extremely good. Yeah. You had the opportunity to wrestle him one-on-one. To you, a person that grew up in a small town in Texas, surrounded by Mexican culture, how important was this for you as a person and for your career as well?
Say, sorry, you cut off. Are you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Apologies. So to you as a person and as a talent, as a wrestler, how important was to face someone like Santos Escobar?
It's funny because whenever they told me that match was happening, I go, dude, my dream was to come into this company and be in a program with this guy. The fact that it's the first thing, I couldn't believe it, because I don't think I would have had a better chemistry with anybody else because of the amount of respect that I have for Hispanics in general, because that's what raised me. Like, I'm white, but like I was raised by it, to go in there with a guy of his caliber and his prestige, and him just pretty much take me under his wing and show me what's right and what's wrong and how to do things and how not to do things and how to have a goddamn good match. Like, I can't thank him enough. It was just, I lucked out.
Man, that's mind-blowing. Let me translate all this to Spanish. Let's start from the beginning. Él menciona que él tuvo con Ring of Honor, y las cosas van como un snowball, como él dice, va acumulándose cosas y va haciéndose más grande hasta que la empresa Evolve con Gabe Sapolsky lo firman. Cuando Evolve es comprada por WWE, WWE compra algunos contratos, entre ellos el de Stallion Rogers. Stallion firma con WWE de esa manera. Posterior a esto, él tiene la oportunidad de debutar en un dark match contra el Legado del Fantasma en NXT. Posterior a esto, debuta en 205 Live directamente en main roster. Estaba August Gray, tiene la oportunidad de luchar con Arya Daivari, que es un tipo ya establecido en la marca. Y la cosa asciende tanto y tanto y tanto que él llega a enfrentarse a la persona que él siempre se quería enfrentar, a su dream match en WWE, en NXT, y fue Santos Escobar, o sea, por la cultura con la que él creció, la cultura que lo crió en Texas, rodeado de mexicanos. De momento, encontrarse en un cuadrilátero 1-1 con Santos Escobar fue una experiencia, como él dice, me volvió humilde, fue una experiencia que pude aprender mucho y este era mi sueño. Yo quería hacer esto siempre hasta que por fin tuve la oportunidad de lograrlo. Unfortunately, due to, and I quote, budget cuts. Yeah, it sucks to say budget cuts when the company earned $970+ million a year. Well, yeah, we gotta cut budgets.
It's funny. When I got the call, I'm in Florida now. I had 1 week off before so I got hurt while I was in WWE.
Wrist injury. You got surgery.
Yeah. The literally the training after my cruiserweight title match, the next day I go into training and a dude breaks my friggin' wrist. And I was 2 weeks away from getting cleared before I got fired. They fired me 2 weeks before getting cleared. And I was at my grandmother's house having lunch with my grandma and my great grandma. And we're literally talking about work. And my phone rings and it says Canyon Seaman. And I just go, fuck. Hold those thoughts. Yeah, I said, hold those thoughts. And I walked outside. I waited till I got out in the backyard and I answered my phone. I go, I'm getting fired, huh? That was the first thing that came out of my mouth. And he was like, hey man, I'm really sorry. I was like, dude, it's your job. You're not the one that made the cuts. Like, I get it, blah, blah, blah. You're just doing the firing because that's what you're paid to do. And he's just like, yeah, man, really sorry. It's budget cuts, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I get it. It's no sour grapes. I literally told him, I said, I'm badass, dude. I'm going to be all right. And he started laughing. He was like, oh. And before we got off the phone, I said, is there any chance that I could get my job back one of these days? And then I was like, not anytime soon, but like here in a year or two. He goes, I can't answer that right now. I go, all right, thanks, man. And that was it. Click. And as soon, oh yeah, I didn't hang up. I was getting another call and I look and it's Matt Riddle. And I'm like, ah. So I answer. I'm like, what's up, bro? And he's like, hey, bro, I'm at your apartment here in Florida. He was picking up a package that was for him sent to my place for the backstory. And he's like, I'm at your apartment. I'm here. I can't find the package. And I was just like, I just got fired. And he's like, no, well, you're lying. And I was like, nah, dude, I just got fired. I was numb. Like, I didn't know how to feel, how to think. I was just kind of like, what can you do? There's no point in crying. There's no point in screaming. None of that's going to fix anything. So I was just like, man, I was like, yeah, dude, I just got fired. He starts crying. And I was just like, I got to let you go. Click. And I was like, what do I do? Like, I got to go back inside and tell my grandma and my great grandma, who are so proud of me, that I just lost my dream job and I'm not going to be able to pay her bills anymore like I've been doing for the past year since I've had this job. Like, what the hell? So I call Eddie Kingston and I said, Eddie, because Eddie's another one of my best friends. Eddie, Phoenix, Matt Riddle, and Cameron Grimes are 4 people that I would say are some of my best friends in pro wrestling. And I called Eddie and I was like, dude, I need one of those Eddie Kingston pep talks right now. And he's like, oh, what's up, bro? What happened? And I was just like, I got fired, man. No. Like he's like, you're so badass. You're going to be okay. Don't you dare let this get you down. And I go, dude, I'm fine. The only thing that's really starting to bother me is the fact that I got to go inside and tell my grandma and my great grandma that I just got. And as I'm saying this, my voice starts cracking and Eddie just cuts me off. He's like, stop. No, do not get upset right now. Don't be sad. You're going to be okay, bro. Everything's going to be fine. Blah, blah, blah. And everything turned out fine. Like, he was not lying. I went back inside. I told my grandma. My grandma was real worried. She thought I was going to go crazy and like kill myself or something. I don't know. I literally was fine. I was just numb. Like, I went inside, told them, and I went home to my grandma's house and I packed my stuff up so I could drive back to Florida. And I was like, I remember thinking, like, what do I even got to go back to Florida for? I don't have a job anymore. And I was just like, man, but I still have responsibilities here, so that's why I'm still here. You know what I mean? Taking care of bills and stuff. But yeah, it was real like weird. I was never upset. I was just always like, man, this is crazy. Like it's so weird. Like you just don't expect it, you know what I mean? And like I didn't do anything to deserve it. I was told all the coaches liked me. For as far as I know, Triple H, Shawn Michaels loved me. Like so it's just weird. But like I said, I don't have any hard feelings against the company or anything. If they asked me to go back, I mean, of course I'd be like, yeah, like sign the check, but that's not where I want to go anymore. That's not where I want to work. After I saw the way that they're treating people that I don't care about myself in terms of like I get fired, but the people that got fired that didn't deserve it, the people that were making the company money and just got tossed to the side, like that bugged me. But yeah, that's to answer your question in the most long-winded way possible.
So there's two ways of doing things when a bad news comes. It's either you sit down and cry in a fetal position for the rest of your life, or you do the Matt Cardona and Curt Stallion way, which is fuck it, I'm gonna do my thing. And suddenly you appeared on some pictures on social media, on the Universal Studios actually. So how did that happen? And obviously I'm talking about AEW. So you got from a good place to a good place as well. Like you're still on top. How did that opportunity happen? Like your first time going outside it's huge.
Man, I'm still not really sure how it happened, other than the fact, like, I'm just gonna say Eddie Kingston. Like he's one of my best friends, and there's like, I just assume he said something because the person that hit me up was Sanjay Dutt.
Oh, nice.
And Sanjay Dutt was my coach at the PC. He quit WWE right before all the firings happened because he didn't like the way the company was going, and he got out while the getting was good. He's smart, I assume, because he went off and made a real good choice working for AEW. As soon as I walked through the back, everybody's just like, that was so awesome, y'all are so good, blah blah blah. And I was like, what? Like, what? And apparently we were only supposed to have 8 minutes, but FTR went up to Tony Khan specifically and we're like, hey, we want to give these guys 15. We've heard good things about them. So he was like, okay, whatever you want. And they gave us that. We went out there, we killed it. When I walked through the back, Joey Janela is standing there. He goes, I want to wrestle you. And I was like, okay, again, because we've wrestled before. And he was just like, yeah, today. And I was like, what? And he's just like, yeah, it's gonna happen, so don't get out of your gear. And I was like, okay. And then I went up to Tony, and Tony Khan it was my first time to like meet him. And I was just like, dude, like, you're Tony Khan. Like, whoa, like you're the, I can't even call him the Vince McMahon of AEW because he's his own person, but like, you know what I mean? I was just like, I can't believe I'm sitting here talking to you. Like it was just crazy to me. And I thanked him for what he's doing for pro wrestling right now, and thanked him for paying my bills for that day. And he just goes, you want to wrestle again? I was, what? He's just like, yeah, you killed it, man. If you want, you can wrestle Joey Janela on the second show coming up that we're recording. I was just like, yeah. And so I went and wrestled Joey, and after that match, like, he was super nice to me. Just like, dude, thank you so much, blah, blah, you're awesome. And I was like, you're awesome. Like, it was just this big powwow of everybody's happy with each other's work, I guess. So yeah. Stallion Rogers.
Dude, that's fucking mind-blowing. Like,
I know,
but there's something that blew my mind even bigger, and it's a picture you posted on Instagram. I'll say this in Spanish as well. Pueden seguir a Stallion Rogers en Instagram y en Twitter como @StallionRogers. Así mismo lo pueden buscar. Lo pueden seguir también y por lo menos en esas dos redes tiene su mercancía disponible en prowrestlingtees.com. Ahí lo pueden buscar como Stallion Rogers. También pueden buscarlo para la mercancía t-shirts y todo lo que tienen está en Stallion Rogers en prowrestlingtees.com. Y para todos los bookers, para todos los promotores que lo quieran adquirir sus servicios, adquiéranlo a través de stallionrogers@gmail.com. stallionrogers@gmail.com en México, Puerto Rico, Panamá, Colombia, Chile, todos lados que quieran adquirir su servicio. StallionRogers@gmail.com, experiencia en WWE, Ring of Honor, AEW, en todos lados. Now there's something I want to talk to you about before closing the interview. You freaking wrestled two freaking Cold Scorpio in GCW.
Dude.
Like that should be the highlight of anyone's career.
Yeah, dude. It's your interview, but I really wanted to talk about that. You know, right? So I'm glad you brought it up. Like, dude, that honestly, I had 3 nightmares before wrestling him. About wrestling him. You ever have those dreams where you're in a fight and your punches just are not working, and the other person's just like piecing you up and you can't do anything, but you're just defenseless, hopeless, faithless. Like, it's just the worst feeling. I had 3 separate nightmares about Too Cold Scorpio where I'd be in the corner and he'd come running and I'd put a boot up and he would just run through it and punch me in the face and just like beat my ass. And it was like the scariest, most like, I was just like, oh. So when I had to wrestle him, I straight up told him, I was like, dude, I got the worst kind of butterflies in my stomach right now because I've been having nightmares about you whipping my ass. And he started laughing. He just thought that was so funny. And then the reason I was having these nightmares was because I used to wrestle ACH a lot. And he was actually my roommate as well for a while. And he was my first big match. And I remember he beat the shit out of me so bad that I had a concussion and I was just all like just destroyed. I saw Too Cold Scorpio beat the shit out of ACH. Imagine what Too Cold's giving. He's had these constant nightmares occurring just constantly. And when I went and wrestled him, like we had one of those classic matches where we're in the back. We kind of try, man. You know what you do. I know what I do. I'll see you out there. And we just had a classic like 1980s wrestling match where we didn't call anything. We just went out there and worked, and he killed me. The nightmares were real, but I didn't have a concussion or anything. I didn't end up sick after the match or with a headache, but God, everything hurt. Everything was in there. He hit me with this scorpion kick that just made me look at the front row, and I was like, what the fuck? I was just out, like, oh. But yeah, that was honestly like a dream come true. And then somebody made a GIF on Twitter. It's one of my favorite things I've ever seen. It was Too Cold hitting the tumbleweed on Eddie Guerrero, and then Too Cold hitting the same move on me. And it was just like somebody cropped it together where it was both of us losing to that move to Too Cold. And I was like, damn, that was so sick. I'm a big Eddie Guerrero mark for the record.
I think we all are, man.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to be, but Too Cold Scorpio is a legend inside the wrestling industry.
Yeah.
The nightmares were real, but what do you learn? What do you learn from him?
Honestly, I learned so much, and I wish that I could sum it up simply, but I guess I could. I learned how to tell a story without worrying too much about moves, and but like I already knew how to do that, but like even more so, like even fine, like he just fine-tuned my craft essentially. And you don't always have to have a million things. Like this is the story, and it's just I have yet to go back and watch that match. Like I used to watch all my matches all the time, like just as what can I do better, but now I'd much rather watch other people's stuff. But if there's one match I could go back and watch, it's that one. Like I would like to see how we did in turn for not having anything planned. We just went out there and we wrestled, and we were ourselves, and we fought as well, which was cool. Like I can say I fought Too Cold Scorpio and stood my ground. But yeah, it's crazy, man. I'm living the dream.
Man, before we go to our last question, I wanted to thank you so much for your time. It's been completely humbling for us and absolutely a pleasure to have you as our guest, because I'm seeing the weather behind you in Florida, and it's
starting to rain now.
It's been a classical Florida weather. Like we started the interview with a beautiful day and now it's raining.
Yeah.
Man, last but not least, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to wrestle? Like, what does Stallion Rogers want to, and how do you want to construct your pathway? Basically, now on that you are a free agent, you can go everywhere you want. You could go to Japan, you could go to Mexico, you could go to Spain. I don't know. You could go whatever the hell you want to go. So, what do you want to do?
Man, that's such a hardcore question. Like, it's one of those that you actually have to sit down and think about. And like, I've never sat down and thought about it, but I'm going to give you the best answer I can off the top of my head without thinking about it, like from my heart, which is what you're looking for. So honestly, I want to have a career that not only inspires others, not just to be pro wrestlers, but to just follow your dreams, to do whatever you want to do with your life. I want to be able to show people that you can start from nothing, from lower than nothing, and you can work your way up as long as you have the drive and the effort. But from there, I hope that one day I'm able to retire because of pro wrestling and still pay my bills after the fact. I hope there will still be money coming in through the work that I put in my time in the squared circle. I'd like to go to Mexico way more often. I'd love to be in Mexico City. I'd love to go to Puerto Rico. I'd love to go to Europe, to Asia, like anywhere that'll have me. I would love to go there. Japan hit me up an hour after I got fired. And that is just the whole COVID thing. So that's taken a toll on the timeline of me getting over there. But other than that, like I will wrestle where the money is. If you pay me, I will be there and I will wrestle. The people I want to wrestle are whoever I can get in there with, honestly, anybody. Like, if you love professional wrestling and are passionate about it, I want to wrestle you. But name-wise, I guess people like a name that keeps coming into my head is Jay Briscoe from Ring of Honor. Like, that would be so badass. But I don't want to work for Ring of Honor. I don't want to be contracted to them. I would like to work with Jay Briscoe though. Randy Orton. I mean, Kenta. I like that the Viking kid from Mexico.
Hijo del Vikingo.
Yeah, dude, he's awesome. Yeah, I would like to work with him. I mean, like I said, this is a question you just got to sit down and actually think about. But off the top of my head, those are straight up like the first few names and places.
Man, it literally blew my mind, because I see you as a trotamundos. I see you as a person that can travel the whole world, that can fit into any pro wrestling style. So I really hope to see you literally crossing the whole globe, doing what you want to do, loving what you are loving, which is pro wrestling, and living a happy life, man. So in our name, Lucha Libre Line, we wanted to thank you so much, man, for your time, for allowing us to tell your story as well. The floor is yours, man. If you have any last words for the fans out there in Latin America and the whole world watching us right now.
Dude, oh man. I just want to say, first and foremost, huge fan of Hispanics in general. Love y'all. My girlfriend's Mexican. She's inside looking at me right now. She's probably cooking. I'm excited about that. I do want to put over Santos Escobar for a second, a little more than I did, just because that guy deserves it. He's done a lot for me my time here, not just in WWE, but in Florida. He's invited me into his home to work out with him, to meet his family. Beautiful family, very, very respectful. He reminds me of like a king, like just the way he is, his composure, the way he handles himself, not only in a professional and business setting, but in a personal setting. He's very royal, very regal, and his wrestling is also very royal and regal in the prestige that it has, not only his background and his lineage, but the fact that he is so fucking good. Like, dude, honestly, very, very lucky. And I hope that he sees this and is like, that son of a bitch. But he's a big fan of y'all. So anyhow, and I texted him before. I was like, hey, I'm gonna be on Lucha Libre online. So anyhow,
man, wise words from a wise man, let's say that way. Santos Escobar is definitely, he's a friend of the brand. He's a great human. Of all things, Santos is a great human, and I'm pretty sure you are as well, man, from our conversation. So, let's hope to see you in Puerto Rico, in Mexico, in Latin America more often, man. You're a great talent. So I wanted to thank you so much for your time, for the interview. And let's wrap this up in español. Let's wrap this up in Spanish. Este fue Stallion Rogers y Michael Morales Torres para Lucha Libre Online, la marca número 1 de Pro Wrestling y Combat Sports en español.